And welcome back to another episode of the Baseline Bums podcast. It is your host, Rob, aka B-Ball Archives. And once again, I am joined by my homie, AJ. What's good, my dude?
What's going on, Rob? Man, I feel like we haven't talked in a while. How have you been? Where have you been? What's going on? How's Rob's life right now? Because we have a lot to talk about and a lot of stuff that we need to get to.
Oh, yeah, dude. We got a lot of stuff we need to chat about. Been busy shooting a little feature film, a little horror feature, a lot of blood, a lot of screams, a lot of crazy weaponry, people just getting absolutely murked.
There you go.
Yeah, so yeah, some pretty big craziness. So, in between obviously watching hoops, that's pretty much all I've been doing. So yeah, it's been pretty busy, but obviously got to keep up with the Spurs even when you're doing all that.
For sure. I feel like every time I get a text message from you, it's like 3:00 in the morning after you've got done shooting. So yeah, I can only imagine it's been a pretty crazy few weeks for you, but it's been a pretty crazy few weeks for our Spurs too, especially the dude who's figured out the game, Victor Wembanyama, aka the alien, who's getting his own pair of shoes here pretty soon.
Yes.
And he had a great game. I mean, efficiency wise, not the best game last night against the Nuggets, but stats wise, solid performance. And I am to the moon about his progression, where he's going to end up, how he is this coming to the end of this year. I mean, we have a lot of good things to look forward to.
Oh yeah. I mean, he looks absolutely phenomenal. And even though Jokic, I feel like still ended up getting the best of him because the Nuggets got the win. Jokic dropped a 40-point double-double, outscored him, out-rebounded him, was more efficient than him. And even though Victor Wembanyama put up a damn near quadruple double, which is so impressive for the 20-year-old. I mean, that's just so impressive. But still, the thing that I'm looking at is the 9 for 29.
Yeah.
That was a lot of shots. That was a lot of shots that were very questionable. Shots that may have been within the flow of the offense, maybe some weren't. I think that I would like to just see just more efficiency when, especially on nights when you don't have Sohan, no Vassell, no Keldon Johnson, that the ball's going to be in your hands more often than not. Maybe if they're closing in on you, maybe make that extra pass a little bit more. I think it was easy a game where he could have had 10, 11, 12 assists.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I completely agree. I don't think, I want to say, yes, last night was his first time playing in Denver, if I'm not mistaken. So that in itself is an adjustable. You have to adjust to the altitude, and it's not an easy thing for him. I don't know if he was taking his baby aspirin 2 or 3 days before to help out his bloodstream a little bit, but you could tell that in that first quarter he got gassed kind of quick, and he was like, "Oh, this is not what I'm used to." So I think he kind of had to go from a negative, but he learned kind of how to harness his energy a little more towards the end. But you could tell by the end of the game, like in the fourth quarter, his shots were coming up short. Like he was gassed. Especially that sequence that kind of went viral where he was going back and forth, where he scored on Jokic, came back. I think they scored, and then he had to run back. I mean, it was back and forth. So, he definitely he's learning. And I think one of the things you have to learn is how to play in Denver. You can't just go out there, balls to the wall in the first quarter, because it makes a difference. I mean, I have family up there, and I've worked out up there, and it is a bear. Like you don't think about it until you're like 5 minutes into your workout and going, oh, I'm tired. This isn't fun.
It's real. That altitude, that working out in elevation is a very real thing. And it makes you winded, unlike very few things very few things can, because it just really makes you realize your own humanity a little bit and humbles you very
For
quickly.
sure. I mean, imagine going 100% on like an air bike for 5 minutes straight and then stopping. Like that's what it's like to just lift lightweight in Denver. Like it is not an easy task. But regardless, 9 for 29 was not a great stat line, but his 9 blocks were super impressive. I mean, that's mind boggling. And it it's not only that, it's he's dictating the defensive end. He's making people think about what they're doing, how they're doing it. Even when he's not in the vicinity, they're always looking for him. Aaron Gordon had a wide open 3-pointer that he passed up on because Wemby was closing out. I mean, it's one of those things where you have to think about it, and you see it every game. Someone's driving to the basket on a fast break. Wemby's right there. They look up, and then they pull it out and wait for everyone to come down. I mean, it is, and you saw it time and time again yesterday too. And the fact that he was blocking, arguably the MVP of the league, and Jokic, that was even bigger. So,
Yeah, and he was just
hats out
smiling about
hats
it.
out to him.
Yeah,
Yeah, what can you do?
yeah, he was just like, well, how can I go up against this guy that has this infinite wingspan? But Jokic was still getting the better of him offensively,
For sure.
was able to maneuver because obviously, I mean,
Yeah.
he's the best player on the planet right now.
Right.
I mean, he and Luca are kind of 1A 1B in my opinion, but at the same time. I think that he's definitely, up there in that conversation. So it's not a surprise that he's going to give Victor fits. But like you were saying, he Victor was getting those blocks on him. It's not like Jokic was just consistently cooking him in a way that Victor wasn't getting his. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's sort of the little nugget that you can take away, that little scoop move that he's doing
Right.
under Jokic. Like that's only going to get more polished. That's only going to get better. He's only going to find more creative ways to use that. And I'm just thrilled to see how he can become more efficient because
Yeah.
we've seen so many of the weapons. We
Everything.
we we know what he's going to do defensively, offensively, what he can do, but it's just like how can he polish that? Because right
Right.
now, over the last 25 games, he's about 34% from three, like 46% from field goal, 77% from the line. These are
Yeah.
all numbers that can easily get better. I
For sure.
Yeah, and it's like, dude, whenever he starts to become the true efficient player that he's meant to be, yeah, the league's over.
Yeah.
He's the face.
Just like KG and Draymond and all those casters have been saying, if this is the worst we're seeing of Wimby, like good luck, good luck,
Right.
because if he gets more efficient, if he starts to be more efficient with the step back 3-pointers that are unbelievably impressive, the way he's able to kind of go off the dribble, do a little hezzy step back and hit those 3-pointers as a 7'4", get out of town. And if he's able to hit turnaround jumpers like from 15 feet, I mean, you're done. You're done. If he's able to be more a better shot blocker, I mean, a better rebounder, a better passer, and that's all going to come. And not having our 2 through 4 players in Vassell, uh, Johnson, and so that's pretty. It's pretty impressive with to basically be getting your assists from like Mamu. So
Right.
that's kind of so. I mean, like I think from the start of the season to where we're at now, it's I mean leaps and bounds. What a difference just a year made for 70, 75 games. I mean it's impressive, and on top of all that, he looks stronger.
Yeah.
Like I don't like when he's at the line and he's like doing his routine, he looks like he's put on some muscle, which
Yes.
I'm so excited about that. I'm like awesome. So Wimby's been eating breakfast tacos every morning to put on some extra meat, and he's getting in the gym, and he looks he. I think here going into the season, he's gonna look like 10, 15 pounds heavier. He's gonna be a lot leaner, and I think it's all gonna click because ideally we add some pieces to him in order to take all that pressure off him. Because essentially, if you shut down Wimby or tried to slow him down, everyone else kind of falls in the line. There's really no second option that's going to really hurt you too bad.
No, and especially now with no Vassell, no Sohan for the rest of the season, Keldon in and
Yeah.
out of the lineup. Like, yeah, there's no one else. Like, I mean, like we have Chetty Osman like trying to be one of our main offensive threats out there, and it's tough to watch. But I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that we were seeing Wemby get a little bit stronger during the Golden State Warriors game earlier. Just a few days ago, um, Wemby had a move where he put his shoulder down and went into Trace Jackson Davis and like
Mm-hmm.
just moved him out of the way and just dunked on him. And I was like, well, Trace isn't a small guy.
No.
That's not pushing Chet out of the way.
Right.
So I was really impressed with just how he was able to use brute force in
Mm-hmm.
certain moments. Um, to get an advantage because I didn't really think that I would have seen that kind of evolution in his physicality this early on, but um, you know, it's definitely happened, and there's evidence of it. So I totally agree, and it's just making him even more dynamic because
It's
if
so
he
wild to see.
if he's able to put his shoulder down and move people like that on offense, all while having a full block more than Brooke Lopez, more than Anthony Davis, it's ridiculous. Like we're talking about he's stepping into the NBA and then is instantly good as prime Hakeem on defense.
I mean, I saw a post on Instagram not too long ago, and it was one of those like, how does Wimby measure up to the past players of the years? And it's like it's not even close. Like some of these, his blocks and his steals are they're he's up by 20 on some of them for some of the defensive player of the years. You look at the guys that won it. I mean, uh, it's hard for me to argue against him being defensive player of the year. The only thing that's going to hurt him is the record, and
Yeah.
that's it. But I mean, we haven't seen someone this. What's the word I'm looking? We haven't seen really someone come in and make this type of impact and understand how to play defense this early. I mean, obviously there's some that are that come to mind like Keem, David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, like those guys, but we're not. They weren't averaging 3.5, 4 blocks a game. Like no one's putting up 9 blocks each season. Like that's insane.
Right. And you got to realize he's doing this in the NBA that prioritize three-point shooting. I mean, obviously, there's more possessions now than there was in the 90s, so there is more layups, so there is more attempts at the basket, but more of the focus is on three-point shooting more so
Mm-hmm.
than ever. And so to be in an NBA where that's the focus and still getting more blocks than people in the 80s and 90s where getting the ball to the rim was everything. That was
Right.
your bread and butter. That's what you did every single time. And if that failed, then you kicked it out. Did
Right.
no shit people in that era were gonna get a lot of blocks. But at the
Yeah.
same time, man, we got to give Wemby his props because I would just did not expect over 3.5 blocks coming out of the gates his rookie year. This is just it's nuts. And on
And
top
he's
of
getting.
that, 1.6 steals.
Yeah, I was about to say he's getting into passing lanes. I mean, it's just crazy to see. He's making he as bad as our record is, he's also making the other players on the court better at defense too. Where it's I think if we just put some better pieces around him and get some veteran leadership in there as well. I mean, the sky's the limit for this squad. It really is.
Right.
I
I mean,
really
it's
hope.
pretty much what we've been saying all year.
It really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's exactly what we wanted to see. I didn't expect it to come this fast. I mean, I knew he was going to be defense, but to literally change the way that a lot of these guys attack the basket is, I mean, it's wild. I mean, just to see people that are just on fast breaks to peel out because Wimby's right there, or them to get around their defender and then look up and it's like, no, I don't want to take this shot. And I mean, it's crazy, really crazy. If we put another defensive stopper around him, like that's a game changer. So I do think defensive player of the year. I don't know if the NBA is gonna allow it because our record's so bad.
Yeah. Yeah, ultimately I'm kind of split down the middle because as a Spurs fan and somebody that sees that his defensive awareness, his defensive presence are just on an all-time high in terms of how they're able to impact and like you were saying, he is just causing people to second guess what they're doing offensively, and that is one of the key components of defense in itself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that he needs to be in strong consideration just based off that alone. But I also think that, you need to be anchoring one of the better defenses
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you're
I
going to
agree. Yeah,
be
yeah,
winning that award. And I don't think that what he's doing is, you know, so far and above what Rudy is doing. It's definitely better. He's definitely
yeah.
a better defender this year, but what Rudy's doing, it's translating to wins. He's
Mm-hmm.
able to incorporate his skill set within a team defense, and it's working really well. And so I think that Wemby can easily do that. He just needs the personnel. He just needs somebody with experience defensively, and I think, that's going to just come with time. He's going to be
Yeah,
able to, yeah,
I think it's also going to come with players too, because
yeah,
I mean, you think about that T Wolves team. Obviously Rudy Gobert's that anchor, but you have Anthony Edwards, who's causing havoc on the offensive ends for people to get tired quicker. You have Kyle Anderson, that's a great perimeter defender, and then you have Karl Anthony Towns on the other side. So like team, that team as a whole is great defensively. Also have great veterans that understand the game. So that's a huge part of it. But I do think this is probably the last year for a long time that we're going to have someone outside of Victor Wembanyama as Defensive Player of the Year.
yeah. I agree with that. I think that next year it's going to be game over. There's no reason to suspect him to decrease his blocks per game. He's only going to get more used to the game, more used to the speed. His body's only going to get, stronger, more physical. He's only going to become more explosive. So all of these things combined, I don't see his blocks per game changing, but if it's leading to more team success, then certainly he's going to be
Yep.
more strongly considered, without a
Yeah.
doubt.
His last block last night was hilarious with Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson, I don't know what he was thinking, man. He went to the lane like he was going to do a floater, and Victor was like, no.
Yeah, it's like just
But
erased.
yeah, I mean, I know Yoke had 40, but he was definitely, whenever he was inside around Victor, he was putting, like, he was rainbowing those hook shots. Like they weren't just like easy shots. He was really trying to get way over Wimby. So in that in itself is huge for people not as skilled as Yoke. So you do see that. I'm curious to see kind of the second level stats, if you will, and see what people, how they do against Wimby, and like what their stats do whenever they play against him. I'm curious to know that one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know that he's really impacting 3-point shots. People are shooting almost 10% less from beyond the arc when he's involved defensively. And I know that his under 6 feet, it was 12% less when he's
Damn.
involved defensively within 6 feet, but that was about a month or so ago. I know that it's probably gotten even better since then because he's
Yeah.
he's had so many high block games.
Yeah, man. It's
Yeah,
insane.
yeah,
I'm I'm
it's
I'm excited for the future. And real quick, speaking of the future, this came out today. The Express News said that they're going to be moving the Institute of Texan Culture to somewhere out by UTSA, and more than likely they're going to be knocking down that Institute Texan Culture and building that Spurs arena in that area right across from the Alamo Dome, which will be huge for us. I've talked about this a few times on this podcast, and I think that's great for the city of San Antonio, for the Spurs, for everyone. I think it's going to revitalize downtown on game days, and I think it's going to really help out in all aspects of the town. I think it's a win-win for everybody, and I'm excited to see a stadium back downtown for the Spurs, especially with WEMBY now, because now it's going to be a lot more fun to go get dinner, go get a drink, then go to the game, then go get a drink after that, or hey, it's playoff time, so let's go party. I mean, like I'm so excited for this city. I'm so excited for the Spurs. Obviously not the record that we want, but it's all moving in the right direction, especially with Wimby and his shoes coming out. So
I,
excited for those. Definitely gonna get them.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I want to touch on that point you had about the San Antonio feel about being able to experience the nightlife and just go to a game. Whenever I went to one of the games in Austin, I went to the San Antonio versus Nets game
Mm-hmm.
when it was here in Austin, and that was the exact feel whenever the game was at the Moody Center, and it really opened my mind. I was like, oh, okay, this is, I think, what San Antonio is trying to push towards, because it was nice seeing food trucks and all this fun activity leading up to the stadium, and then you could walk out of the stadium, and then within a block or two there was bars, there
Yeah.
was open nightlife, and it felt like, an environment that you actually wanted to be a part of. and
Mm-hmm.
and and I think that that's exactly what San Antonio's trying to go after, and I'm psyched that they're actually making moves
Yeah.
to make that happen.
And I mean that's what we saw with Cleveland back when LeBron left the first time, is that there's a huge dip in the economy around the arena because no one was going to the games. And whenever he came back, it's like, oh, now we're back. And so I mean, I'm excited for all the people that are working downtown. I'm excited for the city. I know some people aren't going to like it, but honestly they can kick rocks, because at the end of the day it's going to be a great addition to the skyline. It's going to bring in more work, more jobs, and it's only going to help out downtown, which it's already being revitalized already. I mean, imagine going to Southtown and then walking to a game. Like that would be the best.
Yeah.
So I'm pumped about that. But um, yeah. So go Spurs, go! I'm here for it. Still not a fan of them playing in Austin, but that's a different story.
Well,
I
honestly, I mean, I was a fan of the nightlife, of the atmosphere, because that honestly was like, it was far different than any other
sure,
Spurs game experience I had ever been to. Just it
right.
was, yeah, it just felt slightly different in good ways, in weird ways, but it was.
It's great now when we're not in the playoff picture, but my concern is when we get into the playoff picture, and if we're playing games on the road, in Austin, I don't know how that's going to affect us. If it's going to affect us, I think it'd be great to stay at home for those playoff runs. But we'll see, we'll see.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think we're in total agreement. If the stadium is consistently packed, if it's sold out night in, night out, then they're not taking the show on the road. I think
Yeah,
them coming to Austin is just a pure financial move, trying to fill the void when people aren't filling the seats at home. So it's
yeah,
like, hey, let's go to Austin for 2 nights. It will be sold out because people
yeah,
want to go.
yeah. But you know what helps with that? Building a stadium downtown.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
People would want to go. You could actually
yeah.
walk around and not feel like you're gonna get stabbed.
Yeah, that all that stuff. But
Oh yeah.
all right, man. Well, that's some good Spurs talk. I don't know about you, but the final four for both the women's and the men's, it's already set. Who do you got?
I don't know. I mean, honestly, I feel like UConn, without a doubt, for the dudes. Like, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, they've been looking the
they look
strongest.
great.
I don't
They look
even.
great.
I mean, they're just gonna
Are they even trying?
steamroll. I mean, I don't know. They just look like they're literally about to steamroll through everyone, and I don't. I mean, outside of just watching them demolish everyone and then everyone becoming a fan of DJ Burns, like I don't like. I mean, I, I mean the
Have
fact
you
that
heard DJ Burns is? Have you heard of his nickname?
Gen Zebo, dude. That had me cracking up, dude. That had me
Oh, dude,
legitimately laughing.
I
That
was
was
like,
solid.
that's the best nickname I've ever heard in my life.
Oh yeah.
It's
Well,
such a great nickname.
I mean, he's such a good back to the basket player. I mean, I hate that he was instrumental in eliminating the Red Raiders, but at the
Yeah,
same time, um, gosh, you can't help but like his game because he reminds you of those 90s players that just kind of would muscle you, and then after they hit you with the muscle, there's some finesse, you know?
he reminds me of Karl Malone. Like he has like a 12-foot, 15-foot jumper. He can back you down. He has a turnaround a little. Like he's a great player. Don't know if he's gonna work out in the NBA, but at the college level, he's a great player. But yeah, I got UConn too, and then on the women's side, I mean, I want to see Caitlin Clark get it, and I think she has that eye of the tiger right now, and I think she's going to put on a show for us. And I love her game. I love watching her figure out basically how to break down the defense. Um, Against LSU, she was driving, so they backed off. Then she's shooting, started hitting shots. They started kind of picking her up 3/4, half court, and they just couldn't stop it. And then she was dishing out 12 assists, and you're like, I don't know what to do. How many pictures did we see them going like, I don't
Oh
know.
yeah, dude.
So
They were so frustrated because they were trying to get all up on Caitlyn and frustrate her, but then she was able to just create way too much space. And if you're gonna try to frustrate her, you need to be picking her up half court and be like just all up in her face. Because if you let her get within 25 feet, that's the green light. That's the danger zone. And that's
yeah,
yeah,
and
they were
dude,
just allowing her to do that too often.
and some of those passes she was making were like just absolute dimes, pocket passes, skip passes. I mean, dude, she's fun to watch. The entire women's NCAA has been fun to watch. I'm excited for them to go to the WNBA and bring more eyes to the WNBA, and I can't wait to see there, Paige, Juju, Caitlin Clark, all of them. I'm excited for the growth of women's sports, especially in basketball, and I can't wait to see what the next steps are.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I think this next wave of WNBA players, it's in really good hands. But I mean, speaking of Caitlin Clark and where she's going to be playing in the near future, do you think she plays in the Big Three? You think she takes that 5 milli?
I don't. I mean, I if I'm her, it'd be a fun challenge to see what I can do. But I don't know if that's going to mess with the WNBA draft or how that works with kind of those contracts, and we'll know if it's going to be a conflict of interest or anything, something like that. Now, I don't know if she can play defense in the Big Three, just because like they're just bigger 40-year-old plus dudes.
Yeah.
And but I do think she can get open and make a shot. I think she can be offensively sound. I just don't know what she can do on defense whenever because those three are fast, man. I don't know if you've watched them before, but
Yes.
it's like ball goes down, kick it out, start again. Like it is just it's fast. So if they're cool with giving up a couple points here and there, then I think she can definitely hit some 4-pointers for sure. You just got to run sets in order to get her open.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think she should go get that bag. Yeah, I think that's it's a cool, unique opportunity. I think that she would be successful. I think, yeah, like ultimately, I agree with you. She would get exposed on defense quite a bit, but um, I don't think that would be a liability compared to what she would be able to produce on offense. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think we're about to run out of time, so I think that's a pretty good episode. That's a pretty nice chat. We'll have to hop on an episode again soon, my dude. But
Absolutely, we'll be doing a year in review probably towards the end of the season and pick our playoff stuff and
oh
whole
yeah,
time doing that.
oh yeah, oh yeah. But thank y'all for joining us for another episode of the Baseline Bums podcast. It's your host Rob, aka B-Ball Archives, once again joined by my homie AJ. Yeah.
What do we say, Rob?
Go Spurs,
Go Spurs, go! Hit the music. Woo!
Yeah, yeah.